What if we retired at 65 instead
What
of
if one of us
67?
needs long-term care in our 60s?
What if we downsize our home now instead of waiting?
Welcome to another episode of The What If Show, brought to you by Thomas Gold Solutions, the team behind Retirement Analyzer, the refreshingly simple software for financial advisors to use when developing and managing retirement plans for your clients. In this episode, Brooke Thomas and Steve Goldstein are going to take you through a new user's roadmap for your first 30 days with Retirement Analyzer. Well, Brooke and Steve, it's wonderful to see you both. This is going to be an exciting episode for the show because anyone who is new to Thomas Gold Retirement Analyzer community is in for an amazing treat. Great to see you guys.
I got to tell you, are we supposed to speak after that intro? I mean, that is, I don't think we can touch that. So, Brooke, we're going downhill after that. It's crazy. Thank you so much.
Amazing energy, sir. Amazing energy.
It's the coffee. I assure you, it's like we're caffeinated. We're recording this in the morning for anyone who's interested, and we're all fully caffeinated. None of the day weight has hit us yet. So awesome stuff. We're all firing on all cylinders. It's good stuff. All right. So, Steve, you have an amazing way of crystallizing the moment that every one of us has experienced when it comes to a new piece of software. So here we are, new user, they've downloaded Retirement Analyzer. What's this experience like?
Well, I mean, we talked about it, I think, last episode. What is it like when you actually upload or download a program and the icon appears on your desktop and you click it? Okay, now Brooke and I are fully aware of that, the feeling that you get once you click it, because what happens is all the energy, you're excited, you got a new application, and then boom, what do you do? And what do you do, right? So what we specialize in is actually jumping right in from regarding support, jumping right in and helping you as soon as you click that icon for the first time. That's where you need the assistance. You don't know where to go. I mean, it's a brand new program. So we specialize in holding your hand from the first click.
I love it. I love it. So, Brooke, what's the single most important thing a brand new RA user should do in like their first session when they've booted this thing up? They've, as Steve said, they've downloaded it. They clicked go. There's a little bit of now what. Obviously, they're here learning some things. So what should they do?
As Steve said, it's going to feel overwhelming. I mean, when you click that and it pops open a new program, I think that's true with any application, not just Retirement Analyzer. But I think the thing a user can have success with is starting with yourself as an example. So take your own data, plug it in, walk through the data entry tabs using your own info, and it's really going to help you notice more quickly if you input something wrong. It's going to help you connect the dots. We see users having a lot of success doing that.
So how does running it on yourself matter so much when versus just like, okay, I got some client data. So what are your, why use my data versus using the client's data?
You want the one reason, the one reason and one reason only?
Yeah.
You pay attention to your numbers. Okay, this is me that I have in there. So I'm going to actually really, study how this works, because I want to make sure I don't have a red line. That's why.
It does make sense, right? Your number is better than anybody else. So be your own guinea pig. In a lot of other businesses, particularly in software, they call this eating your own dog food, right? Go ahead and test it first before you let anybody else test it. But that's a really smart idea. What are some of the things that people are going to notice right away as they're jumping in and they're prepping for this type of stuff?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of times it's going to be the red line. So as Steve said, you plug in your data in Retirement Analyzer, it's going to pop up a big red line if your plan isn't working. And that's, really indicating where you're running out of money. So, you might start with just some little bits of data entry. You pop to tab 7, there's this big red line. Like Steve said, you start paying attention and figuring out, how can I get rid of that and make it where I can maintain my lifestyle in retirement?
We have many users that go through that. I mean, people are, just like Brooke said, we don't know where their mind is. I mean, what are you thinking about as soon as you click the icon? What are you doing here? So we have basically the software is logically written. Okay. Tab number 1, income. Okay. That's what you put the income in. Tab number 2, assets. You put the assets in. Tab number 3, expenses. You put their expenses in. And you can stop there. That's really it, right? 1, 2, 3. There's 10 of them, but those first 3 really, I mean, what you do is, you use these when you get acclimated, so you start to understand things. And then once you have all of that in, then you go and see what retirement looks like. That's all. I mean, it's really not that hard, but people need some guidance there because there are a lot of buttons. There's a way, our software is detailed. It really is. But Brooke and I think we talked a little bit about this before. We specialize in making it simple, at least on the user interface or the outside. But the lines of code, I mean, it's crazy under there. If you go under the hood, it's nuts. But that's what we do, though. So you have 1, 2, 3. It's really 1, 2, 3. You start to feel good, and then you look at tab 7, and you can go from there, and you can start changing things and see what affects what. And you start to move that way. So yeah, that's how long it takes, though, 3 to 4 times for the software. And like Brooke said, do the analysis on yourself. Why? Because you pay very, very good attention to your numbers.
I love it. I love it. So now, before we get into some more tactical things and training for really getting started there, I thought it'd be worth taking a moment to shine a light on something that might surprise new users. And we talked about it in episode 1. You actually answer the phone when they call. So they've clicked open the software, they're starting to experiment with their own data, and they might be getting a little stuck or overwhelmed or whatever, but have no fear because
Thomas Gold is here.
There you go. I like it.
Sorry, it rhymed.
That's perfect. I love it. I love it. We're going to need an animated character for that. Have no fear, Thomas Gold.
Well, guys, I think the thing you got to remember is that Steve and I come from the personal production side of this. So we've been the advisor, and I just feel like inevitably it happens to all of us. You're trying to prep for an appointment, you pop open the software, there's a number that's not making sense, or, maybe you're that new user and you're trying to get some basic data input in there and you don't know how, or whatever the case may be. It feels panicky, right? When you're prepping for an appointment and you can't call a phone and talk to a human anymore. And I think so many tech companies have gone to these chats and no phone number to call into. Steve and I basically committed to each other 20 years ago when we started this, that we would never take that approach because we want you guys to be able to call and get an answer, talk about it with a human that actually can help you and knows what they're talking about. So the power line is what we call that. It's open every business day from 7 to 4 Central. And I can promise you that will never change.
I love it. I love it. What are the kinds of calls that you get most often from new users? Like, what are the most common, like you said, the I'm stuck or I'm panicking moments that are, by the way, everyone, that is natural. We have all experienced that. Like, you have a meeting coming up with a client, with a prospect. I assure you, every human being out there has had the sweaty palms, butterflies in their stomachs. I don't feel like I'm ready for this thing. I need this one to go well. I'm so excited about this. Everybody has experienced that, so you're not alone. So what are the most common calls you get, I guess, from new users who are kind of in that zone, panicking a little bit?
All kinds. I mean, there's a variety of calls. I mean, it basically from tabs 1 through 10, it could be anything. But the one thing I wanted to mention is this, though. A lot of people, what they do is they will try to fix it or try to figure it out, and it might take 2 or 3 days. And then they call us, and we solve it in like 2 minutes. And they're saying to us, geez, I spent the last 3 days on this thing. Don't. You got to call us right away. We want your calls. That's why we're different. We want them,
I love it. And Steve, you've told me this story before, but you want them so much that you've actually taken a support call from Costco on a Saturday morning?
Yes, I have. Yeah, we try to do our best to answer the phone. I'm not going to tell my wife about that. She was in aisle 7, though. I was in aisle 5. But no, you need information like right away now. Business doesn't stop. Business doesn't have a weekend. It doesn't. And we want to, build this with you. So we know that you're, maybe you have an appointment. And this is, a lot of this happens, right, Brooke? People will call 20 minutes before their appointment and they won't understand the whole tab. Okay, so what are we supposed to do with that? I mean, there's not much you can do. You got to understand what you're going to present. So what we do is we try to help people feel good about presenting each one of the tabs. That's what we try to do. And I think that's really paid off because they feel comfortable with it. There's all kinds of crazy numbers in the software. We can take you under the hood as far as you want to go, and we'll justify all the calculations if you want. But if you have faith in the calculations, you need to find an easy way to present them to clients. And I think a lot of the calls we get are, which tab should I print out, or where should I concentrate on to show? Where's the weak point here? And so that's what we do. We help them navigate through that meeting that they're going to have coming up shortly.
Well, and I'll add to that for a new user, I think the thought of maybe walking into an appointment and plugging data straight into the software, that might feel overwhelming because you don't know the program well enough, at this point. So we have all sorts of, paper fact finders or fillable PDFs, pre-appointment checklists. We have all of that developed for you. So if you're not really ready to pop it open and do the data entry in front of the client, there's other alternatives.
I love it. So key takeaway there from Steve was don't wait to the last minute, right? And because that adds to your anxiety, right? It's okay to ask questions and ask questions early. And Brooke, you're letting them know, hey, we've got a team of experts here, right? Because your support team is essentially financial coaches, right? Tell me a little bit more about that. These aren't just like, hey, I'm a phone rep who knows the software.
Right. No, that's such a good point. And in fact, most of our customer service reps actually have their insurance license. Several of them have a Series 65. So they come at it from a different angle than just, your customer service rep answering the phone. They really can help you not only with the data entry, if you have questions there, but if you're trying to build in, let's say, a Roth conversion type of concept or, a HECM or a max funded life insurance policy, they can tell you how to position and do the product piece of it as well. We're not going to actually recommend the product or do the product illustration. You're still going to reach out to your FMO for that part of it. But the keystrokes and positioning it for a client, they can help with all of that.
That's awesome.
And just to add a little bit to that. So, Brooke and I wrote the software, obviously. We did. Okay, so we understand it. But I got to tell you, the team that we have, they have ways of doing things. And they know it works like this. No, you just have to do this to get this number. And so because they're on the phone so much, they can't help but gain the experience to become an advisor. There's no doubt in my mind that we have probably 50 or 60% of our team could actually advise today, because they do this each day. But Brooke and I have to keep our eye because, again, the software, it's changing. We develop it, but they have their little ways. They're in every nook and cranny of the software, and they basically they get people up and on their way, answering questions and get them ready to go. Pretty good, pretty fast. I got to tell you, very efficient. So we're pretty happy with that.
It's funny. You use the term reps all the time. I've heard you use this concept of reps, of it. The more you do something, the better you get at, the more comfortable you get at. And that's true with everything in life. So if you are new to Retirement Analyzer, fear not. You will be one of those high reps people over time. But rely on the other people who've done it before you. Call if you need help. Now, let's shift gears a little bit to beyond the phone support and get into the training ecosystem at Thomas Gold, because this is also something that goes a little above and beyond, frankly, what someone might expect when they've got a new piece of software, right? Like you have a full suite of training and community resources at Thomas Gold for Retirement Analyzer, and more broadly, just for advisors that you're working with. So walk us through that. What's this training ecosystem looking like?
Okay, so I think the key thing is the power line that we already mentioned.
Yep.
So 7 to 4 Central every day, that power line's open. But then in addition to that, we have live training, 1, if not 2, if not 3 events that happen every single day. So
wow.
And it's not canned presentation type of training. You guys can literally bring a file, bring your questions. We just open it up for an hour block of time, and we'll get through as much as we can. They're great sessions to just jump in and watch as well, even if you don't have a file. So it is first come, first serve though. So until the first person's questions are completely answered, then we don't rotate to the second person. So if you have something pressing, be the first person there.
That's great.
And they know it's really their responsibility to themselves to actually do this. We use the term continuing education. It really is, though. We haven't taken the core processes of Retirement Analyzer out of there. We would never do that. You'll always have to alleviate a red line. But I mean, we have bells and whistles. We're adding buttons. We're making things more efficient. You can click this and get that. You have to be there in our continuing education to see what's going on. Okay. But so we have these types of classes too, but we also have little play buttons on every area of the software. Just a quick 3-minute video to tell you how to use that specific section. So we spend a lot of time. There's probably 150 videos inside the software now. And yes, I do make them, and I'm famous for my voice, I guess. That's it. Around the country, Retirement Analyzer users. But you have to talk to yourself. It's very lonesome. You have to talk to yourself making them. And when you mess up at the end, you have to start again. So, yeah, some expletives kind of fly in there. But yeah, it's good. We got it.
Mike, I got to tell you, one of my favorite calls we have ever received on the power line. You might want to check the quick clip on tab 8 because I think you loaded in the mess up file. So Mr. Goldstein is on there. He screws up and he is very upset. So we had to get that adjusted.
Especially some of them go like 10 or 12 minutes and you're talking to yourself and then boom. I'm not really good at cutting, but yes.
What I love about this conversation for the new users too, because one of the things we've talked about off camera here and on the first episode is about building confidence or of helping people feel confident and comfortable. And here's the reality: we all are screwing up behind the scenes. No one wants to see how the sausage is made, as they say, right? So you talked about, hey, you don't want to see all the lines of code that are behind this thing you don't want to look under the hood how this thing works, right? Well, anyone who has done video, records things, and you're looking at my life here, has had the moment in which they're losing their cool sitting in front of their microphone because they're doing take 82 on something that should be way simpler than it is. And they're having a hard time. So, Steve, you're not alone, buddy. And I'm sure everybody can relate. It's great stuff.
It is.
So let's walk through a couple other training and community components that people can look forward to. You have these boot camps that you run as well. So walk us through, what are these boot camps like?
Well, it's 3 days. The first day we do a training on our C3 CRM. It's about a half day. And then we actually take 80 people, okay, and put them in a room for 16 hours, not straight, 8 and 8, okay, over 2 days.
Lock the door.
Breakfast and lunch is included. Well, it's very, for lack of a better term, it's very boot campy.
Right.
But yeah, it's that's what we do. And I got to tell you, people even come early to these classes. So sometimes they get there on day 2 before we do. So people come ready to learn on these things, and we'll go through the software A to Z. I mean, we'll answer all the questions. We'll actually, go through some case studies. We even put the audience to work, with the keys and stuff. They actually create a file themselves. So it's kind of tough to do this kind of thing because we have different types of levels of RA advisor. We have brand new advisors. We have people that have, 2,000 clients in the software. So we got to kind of get into the middle of that somewhere where it's helpful for both types of RA user though. So I think we do a pretty good job at that.
I would imagine you do an amazing job at that. So great opportunity. In-person works a lot, right? There is something about it. It not only is it, like you said, very immersive, that 3-day experience that you described, but there's also a community aspect. And that's not the only community opportunity you have for users as well. You have the Thomas Gold Talk community platform. So walk us through that, Brooke. What's the community platform like, and why is it important for a new user to feel like they're part of a community?
Well, I think at Bootcamp, we live in a world where it's really easy to get distracted, right? We've got cell phones and we have Slack and we have 15 platforms going at a time. And so when you bring these advisors to Bootcamp, it tends to eliminate that to a certain degree. So they're more focused, I think is a big win for Bootcamp. But then in addition to that, to your point, it lets these advisors collaborate with each other. So we find that they talk, they go to dinner together, they're talking about study groups that they form. Even when we leave Bootcamp, these groups still keep getting together via Zoom or whatever the case may be. And they're talking about things that work and how they can position Retirement Analyzer in different ways to use it. So there's a ton of benefit with that. We also have a panel of advisors that we do during the event. So we'll bring up, Typically, it's about 5 advisors that have been super successful with the platform, and they'll just talk about their processes and what they're doing and share it with everybody. And these advisors, they absolutely love that. It's great to watch.
That's fantastic.
And if I could just add one thing too, a lot of people, what they do when they come to these kinds of events, they look for 1 or 2 things they can go home with to justify, taking time out of the office to come to the event. I think you'll get maybe 5 to 10 of these things in our sessions, though. And just like Brooke said, that's great. People, working together or bouncing ideas off of each other. But it's really nice to see people that have really succeeded with the program sit up front there, give a 10-minute intro on how they use it, and then answer questions in the audience. They love that. So we'll put 5 to 6 people up there every boot camp and just let it fly. They do all the work. So yeah, it's great.
There's actually nothing more powerful than when a user, client, however you want to describe the person, can be the one who's advocating and educating other users, right? And evangelizing the concept, right? Because they're walking in the same shoes. Like, I had to start at 0 with this thing. I'm now using it, and here's how it's benefiting me. You can get there too. That's a very big on the confidence building. Walk me through like what it's like for somebody who might be like all in. You described a couple of people who really all in, like they're engaged in panels, they're creating their own little study groups and so forth, and they're taking advantage of all that Retirement Analyzer has to offer, and Thomas Gold and the community has to offer. What have you seen in terms of growth stories from 0 to hero?
Well, we can see numbers of clients that have been built in for all of our users. And the explosive growth, the more files that are built in, the more they're using the software. Okay. And you really can take your practice and just supercharge it. Growth. There's all kinds of things you can do with this software program. I think the best thing when you scale it, though, everybody's looking at that same tabs 1 through 10. That's what they do. And so you can teach. And what we have is we have one person jumps in, maybe he's the head of the company, and he starts to use it or she starts to use it. And then they start passing it down through the organization. And all of a sudden they started with 1, and now they have 15 advisors, and they have, 25 admins, and all of a sudden the company's huge, right? So that's what happens, though. And we can see the growth through files built in to Retirement Analyzer.
That's great. That's great.
I wanted to say, Mike, one thing, though. I want to say one thing. You were talking to Brooke about in the last conversation you had. Okay, we can be the smartest people in the universe, Brooke and I. They will not listen as well as they'll listen to a user in their own, in their own, going through the work like everybody else does. And if you look at an advisor to advisor, that's most powerful. Just like you said, Brooke and I are software vendors. Okay. We know it. We know a lot of it though, but it has to come from fellow users though. It does.
A really good point is that there is nothing like interacting with other people who are using it and have seen some success, right? And have gotten over the hurdles that you may be experiencing. And some of the hurdles are just, hey, listen, it takes a little while to get comfortable with a new tool, right? Some of the advisors who might be coming to use Retirement Analyzer might be relatively new in their careers, right? And so coming up to speed is so much easier when you have kind of, lack of a better phrase, the buddy system, right? You're working with other people in the community.
You know what I noticed though, just to add this, when we first started, I kind of felt like this. I kind of felt like, we're going to give knowledge. We'll train on our software to a person, and they were good with that. And once they learned it, that was great. And then they're going to beat their competition. That was the attitude. Today, doing that, they're more than willing to share what they've learned across the Retirement Analyzer advisor community. So I'm very proud of that, because now we can all learn it together, and people aren't worried about, hey, if I teach somebody something that I'm not going to be worth it, that's gone. Okay. So it's really is a community of advisors. And I love that. I'm very proud of that though.
That's great. We've talked about it offline, you and I. It's like, look, the average financial advisor doesn't need 10,000 clients, right? They're looking for maybe 100, 200 clients, right, to work with continuously. There's enough clients out there for you, especially when you consider I think it's less than 30% of Americans have a financial advisor. So that means just like almost everyone you're talking to needs your services. So go and work with other advisors, be part of the community. It's a rising tide lifts all boats type of scenario.
Yep, exactly.
I love it. All right. So let's switch gears into, all right, I'm tinkering around with the software. I've got my own data in there, as you guys have recommended. I'm taking advantage of some of the training here. I've even signed up to go to the Bootcamp. I'm super excited about that. I can't wait to get out to Arizona, which I think is where the next one is. Super pumped. I'm ready to put my new clients into the system. So walk us through that process of what that's like and what they can expect.
So there's multiple ways that you can tackle that. As I mentioned, for a new user that maybe just plugging it straight in is intimidating at this point, you can use those paper fact finders. For those of you that are more techie and willing to just dive in though, you can use the client portal too, which that's going to be something you can share out to the client. They can actually do some of that data input for you, which is great, skin in the game. But take the 3 to 4 clients, I would say, and make sure you go slow. Make sure you give yourself time to call into the power line. They will, once you've got that data input, they will double check your data entry. Because remember, you got to figure out what to look for and make sure that that data is really solid. So garbage in, garbage out. That's what we always tell advisors. But 3 to 4 clients is what I would say, Steve. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I think that's what we do say. 3 to 4. You start to recognize that, and I'm going to simplify it a little bit, but tabs 1 through 3 are input, and you could scoot over to see what the plan looks like right away after your input. What you'll start to understand is that when you get through 1, 2, and 3, even in the middle of 1, 2, and 3, you'll know when a client has a problem. You've used it so much. So you start to understand. But I think the best thing about Retirement Analyzer, it's almost like you have, 10 to 15 solutions on how to solve a red line or alleviate a red line. Yeah. And you use them over and over again, so you can't help but become expert at it. And I think that's most important. Again, just like you said, Mike, over and over and over again, you have to be an expert after a while. You do. And you start to feel comfortable 3 to 4 in, like Brooke said.
Well, and one thing I'll add to that, a lot of advisors, they want to know, what is the type of client I should be using RA, for? Is it a high net worth client? Is it a young client? I tell you what, when Steve and I were doing personal production, we literally ran the program on every single person that walked through the door, regardless of age, regardless of net worth. It should be a repeatable process. And when you get comfortable, you really can anticipate. I would know in the data entry before I ever even clicked to tab 7, which is the summary page. I would know if a client was going to run out of money because you start to see the patterns. Yeah. So I would really encourage you, every single client.
Mike, let me add one thing to this too, though. Let's talk about the emotional state of the advisor that uses RA going into a meeting versus somebody that doesn't. Because we want you to feel this too. I understand Retirement Analyzer inside and out, and I can answer any question you could come up with than a couple of my keystrokes here. How does that make you feel going to the appointment? Again, I think I told you that I'm not real salesy. I can't stand sales. What I like is education and blowing them away to a point where they want to work with you. So if you know you have that with you going to the appointment, maybe it's less stressful. Maybe you are confident, you have to harness that a little bit, right? But maybe you are confident to be able to put a plan in front of them sitting in your office that day by moving the software around. And I think that there's something that has to be said about that. I think clients can read when you're nervous. I think they can feel it when you're confident, and your presentation comes across that way. So RA does that. It makes you feel that confident.
I love that you brought up this education. We're going to talk a lot more about that on this series, but there's for a better word, like a positioning or way, an approach and a dynamic that is created as a result when you come at it from an educational perspective, right? Because when you're educating somebody, what you're trying to do is help them, right? You're coming at them with empathy. Like, okay, Steve, if I'm recognizing that you don't understand this concept, and I'm taking the approach of trying to teach you something about how the inputs that we took from your customer import portal that you filled out, the other data that we put in here, and we're walking it through, that's a much better dynamic. And the person on the receiving end can really feel it like, oh, Mike is really doing a great job trying to help guide me here versus, like you said, trying to sell me on this is the right plan for you.
I think the education makes the sale. You don't even have to ask it. But I think normally or most of the time, if you're educating somebody, they're going to ask you for your help and they're going to want to work with you if you have the answers. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, right? What does an advisor do? An advisor advises. If you're walking in there with no answers, what are you worth to the client? Nothing. Okay. So once you start answering the questions, and we highly encourage what if questions from clients, once they're done with that and there's no questions left and you've answered them all, they're yours. They're your clients.
Love it.
And that's the way we feel.
Well, and I think too that it shifts the conversation from, so many advisors walk into an appointment and they lead with the product conversation. And it totally shifts the dynamic from that to the what if, what questions do you have about retirement? Are you worried about outliving your money? And it totally just focuses on all of those things and the math of it. An advisor can now show mathematically why certain products or certain decisions make sense rather than it being about a rate of return.
I love it. So what's the number one mistake or a big mistake that you see advisors make their first client session with RA, and how can they avoid it? Right. So we talk about like, okay, how simple it is, but what's really nice is when somebody tells me avoid doing this, that's also a great thing that we could have.
I think one thing we see new advisors, especially people that are used to being transactional, we will see them take a file, they'll do the data entry, they'll arrive at tab 7 and the client will actually be running out of money. They're tanking. And an advisor thinks right there that they're going to inject an income benefit annuity or some sort of product to fix the problem. And that's really not how Retirement Analyzer works. You basically need to go in and you need to provide red line solves, whether it's working longer, spending less, it can be a number of things, and fix the problem. And then in the third step is where you would inject the product to basically beef up the plan. But a new user we see trying to skip right to that product, and it doesn't work.
I think we have to convince people that, and it takes a little convincing, but I think it actually works. Listen, the products are important, but the plan's more important. It's more important. Okay. So the products actually go along for the ride because they're part of the plan. All right. And objections, you don't have them because what clients do is we're showing outcomes using conservative estimates. And the client will say, look, I like this one. Let's go do it. Let's do this. What do we have to do this? Well, we're going to use an annuity for a certain, for this amount of money. We're going to keep some variable here. You manage money here. And the client actually sees that and they see the end result. Okay. So it isn't product driven, like Brooke's saying. It shouldn't be. What you should do is help clients to a better retirement. And if you use these 3 products to do it, great. And the client, I'd say a large percent of the time would be, okay, great, let's do it. And that's how it works. Yep.
As you said, like walking somebody through a retirement plan will surface areas where, hey, there are products who will help us optimize, improve your situation, right? Or solve a problem that that Retirement Analyzer has surfaced. You don't have to try to, as you said, Brooke, inject something prematurely to try to solve it. Like, let this open up the conversation with the client. All right. So that was great. We just had a good conversation on mistakes to avoid when using Retirement Analyzer. Now let's kind of close out this segment with what's the first wow moment that a new user typically has when using Retirement Analyzer with their clients?
Well, I'll tell you, what the wow moment is? Changing a couple of entries and data, the couple of fields, and watching the red line disappear. And what I see from these advisors that use RA, that it's almost like this feeling of happiness, right? Basically, they see what they did to actually alleviate the red line and realize it's not that many steps and it's easy to explain. And then they know now that, hey, now I can go in and provide value. So they're happy about that. And that's what we see a lot, at least me, Brooke.
Yeah, I think we talk about Retirement Analyzer triggers, okay? And so inflation, expenses, cost of living adjustments on Social Security. I mean, moving those things by just 0.5%, it's amazing how when you kick it out over a long period of time, just the difference it can make in their plan. So that's the wow moment of wow, all of this stuff really matters. It's conservative rates of return. I can't stress that enough, because you over project a rate of return. You pop in there 10% and project that out to someone's age 100. It's unbelievable, what that does to their numbers. Whereas if you can run it at 3 or 4% and the plan works, then if they get 10, great. But if you project 10 and then they only get 3, you're tanking quickly.
Yeah.
Just be conservative with all of your numbers, guys.
What people do then, as you're going through, you kind of have certain COLAs in mind. You have certain inflation rates in mind. So what do I run with my clients? Well, I might run a 3.2 inflation rate. I might run Social Security COLAs at 2.7. And that's how you feel comfortable as the advisor. And you can show clients that. Okay. Here's another thing too. What if they wanted to take their Social Security benefits at a certain age after they retired at 62? Let's say they want to take it at 63. They don't know any better. What if we sit down with them and we could show them how much better it is to maybe wait till 65? And see, that's the kind of stuff when advisors see what they can show them and they can feel like they're needed. I think that's very important. And that's what we see training people. They love it. The clients need this. They can't run the calculations that RA does. They can't. So it turns into an educational type relationship versus sales. And I'm happy about that we could provide that. So yeah. Yep.
Awesome stuff. Okay. So now it is time for our favorite segment, Retirement BS with Brooke and Steve, where we tackle the retirement planning myths, misconceptions, and debates that come up in real advisor-client conversations. So today's topic is, I don't need to update my plan. I just did it last year. And I think some advisors almost might feel this way too. Like, oh, we got this, we locked and loaded Mr. and Mrs. Client financial plan here, retirement plan, good stuff. Let's just send them updates. But talk about this BS topic of.
Let me just say one thing. So Brooke, you're the animal and I'm the curse word, right? Okay, go ahead then. Yeah.
That is so good. I love it. That is like nails on a chalkboard though, Mike, when you say that, because you do see these advisors, they'll plug it in one time and they'll think, boy, I'm good to go. Remember that this is a living, breathing, working plan. And every year I would encourage people to go back and at least do an annual review. We keep mentioning that missing percentages by half a point or an expense plan changing by a couple $100. I mean, all of that stuff matters. And so Steve and I, when we were doing personal production, we would at least do annual reviews, at least. So quarterly typically.
You have to. You really do. I mean, when you walk out, when your client walks out of the office, 2 weeks later, the plan could be worthless if something happens. Okay. So Brooke's right. I agree with her 100%. It is a living, breathing thing. It has to be updated all the time. Okay. At least once a year or after some kind of major event takes place that can change the whole plan. But see, that's where RA advisors are needed. Okay. We still have people worrying about, well, okay, if I make a good enough plan, we'll do this and I'll never see them again. No, they need you even more now because you have the plan. And again, you're the financial, we call it the financial quarterback of the plan. You have to make sure that the plan is, the boat is steered right as you get it into port as the years go by. So minor tweaks, handling any kind of major change, and then just refreshing the plan, I think is a very important thing. So yeah. You definitely need to do that. Yep.
So we call BS on you don't need to update your plan. Yes. That's the verdict. I love it. Wonderful stuff. Okay. So here we are wrapping this episode up. This is an amazing way to get started if you are a financial advisor exploring using Retirement Analyzer. But for those who might be watching or listening who are still a little on the fence, they haven't made their decision yet for trying Retirement Analyzer, what do you say to them?
Trial. Go to the website, retirementanalyzer.com, download a trial. We have a team of people that tee up the trial. They will hold your hand. They will make sure that you're familiar with all of the training platforms, the power lines, all the stuff that we have, and really hopefully get you to hit the ground running.
Yeah. And I mean, really, we have this team, this support team. It's over the top support, we like to call it. Okay. Holding your hand from the beginning. We're not going to let you give up. It's a lot, right? If you're using another software, I mean, that's a big transition. Okay, if you're using Excel spreadsheets, it might be a little bit easier. We can bridge clients in to get you started. But to have somebody there all the time, easy, very accessible to help you learn, I think is very important. I think you'd be amazed at that. I mean, people say, what do they call us, Brooke? The Chick-fil-A of financial planning. Our support staff is amazing, though, and they'll help you really get to where you need to be.
I love it. Great. By the way, for the audience and for you, Steve, and you, Brooke, just know that I'm a food lemming. If you mention some sort of food, I start craving it like crazy. So what's going to happen is I'm getting Chick-fil-A sometime in the next couple of days after this recording session. All right. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. We want to hear from you. If you're in the audience, what is your aha moment with Retirement Analyzer? When did you start feeling like it was all clicking for you? Swing by thomasgold.com or retirementanalyzer.com and drop us a message there, or just put a note in the comments if you're watching this over on YouTube. We would love to hear from you. Now, before we let you go, be sure to subscribe to the What If Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, the YouTubes, or wherever you like to get your podcast jam on. We want to make sure you stick with us, and you're definitely not going to want to miss the next episode, which is showing value to your client quickly. It's been awesome stuff. Brooke, Steve, thank you very much for joining me and letting me help you showcase Thomas Gold. This is awesome stuff.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.